Alright, what it do, everybody? It's your boy LOG from Where There's Smoke. Uh, you know what it is. If you're tapped into Joe Rogan, the YouTube stuff, or maybe you've seen it somewhere else, Joe Rogan interviewed Mark Zuckerberg on the 10th. So 3 days ago. It's got about, I just checked, about 6 million views. So that's an average of 3 million a day, roughly. But I think the first day it got like 2 or 3 million. It jumped up, and so it tapered off since then. But an average of 2 million a day. Um, and I know I came a little later with the stream than I was supposed to. Today's been a hell of a day. I knew it was gonna happen sooner or later, but my car pooped out on me. The transmission is so yeah, I spent today running around like a chicken with my head cut off, trying to potentially find a new car or truck, mainly truck, but just trying to find something. And I really didn't get anything bought, but I did some looking. I think I'm gonna end up just, not that anyone gives a damn, continue that search. But any of the family that helped me out today with that, shout out to y'all. I appreciate it greatly. And that's what consumed most of my day today. But anyway, let's get into the stream. That's what y'all are here for. We got Joe Rogan. We got Zuckerberg. It's gonna be gold. I got notes. I got timestamps. Let's get it on without further ado. Give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna check the sound and audio, and then we will get right into it. Give me 2 seconds. All right, let's get it popping. Let me pull my notes. All right.
Good to see you.
You too?
What's going on?
You know, chill week.
Yeah,
He thinks he's chill guy.
sort of. This recent announcement that you did about content moderation, how has that been received?
Chill week. Literally the most unchill week ever with the California fires and everything.
Probably depends on who you ask.
Right.
But you know, but look, I mean, I've been working on this for a long time. So
How has that been received?
probably
This recent announcement that you did about content moderation, how has that been received?
probably depends on who you ask.
Right.
But you know, but look, I mean, I've been working on this for a long time. So I mean, you got to do what you think is right. You know, we've been on a long journey.
Is that how you base what you do on what you think is right? Come on, dude. I've been on this, and then he says it's a long journey. That's what people in the comments pointed out, that anytime, instead of really like fully taking accountability, he's just gonna be like, "Oh, it's been a journey. It's been a learning experience." It's like, that sounds good, but it's, you know, some of these times with some of these topics, as we're gonna get into and hit on as we get to them, it's like you had to know some of that at the time. Not everything is a learning experience and a journey. But anyway,
here, right? I mean, it's and I think at some level you only start one of these companies if you believe in giving people a voice, right? I mean,
is that why I think people started social media? Especially him back in the day, social media, or I mean, Facebook wasn't for giving people a voice. It was just to connect with like old high school or college classmates and like social, like dating type of thing. It wasn't to give people a voice. So he's like, yeah, we're here for the people. We always have been. It's like, no. It's not like it was something necessarily sinister, maybe, but that's not what it was for. So for you to be like, yeah, we started this thing to give people a voice. It's like, no, you didn't.
I mean, the whole point of social media is basically, you know, giving people the
Basically.
ability to share what they want.
Right.
And you know, it goes back to, you know, our original mission is just give people the power to share and make the world more open and connected.
What do
Boy, he has trouble getting that out, doesn't he? I don't know if that's entirely true. It was definitely for like the social connection, but it wasn't to give people a voice and to like promote free speech. And it was more about keeping close with old friends and classmates, not necessarily giving people a voice, quote unquote. So anyway, I thought that was interesting how he phrased that. And what prompted the question was Joe asking about Facebook changing up some of their policies recently, and I think they're shifting over to community notes, which I'm unfamiliar, but that's what X does, as opposed to them doing like the whole fact checking thing that Facebook does, and like um, censorship. And we're gonna get into more of like what Facebook has done in the past as they discuss it. So let me see. Yeah, just again before I leave that part, I thought it was interesting. He said you have to do what you think is right. I feel like that's gonna come back to that's something that you could definitely call into question if you think that's what he was doing, I guess. And we'll see with several other points where whether or not we think that's true.
To do to basically try to address this. But I was really worried from the beginning about basically becoming this sort of decider of what is true in the world, right? That's like kind of a crazy position to be in for billions of people using your service. And so we tried to put in place a system that would deal with it. And early on tried to basically make it so that it was really limited. We're like, all right, we're just going to have this system where there's these third-party fact checkers and they can check the worst of the worst stuff, right? So things that are very...
He says he doesn't want to like decide what's viewed as true and false, but it's like you say that on one hand, but ultimately you had no problem enacting policies that did just that. Like at the end of the day, you basically felt you had to do that. So we felt bad doing it. I mean, are you just saying that? Like, and I'm gonna let him finish this little thing, and then I'm gonna give a little more, I guess.
Very clear hoaxes that there's like, it's not like we're not parsing speech about whether third-party fact checkers and they can check the worst of the worst stuff, right? So things that are very clear hoaxes that there's like, it's not like we're not parsing speech about whether something is slightly true or slightly false, like Earth is flat.
Who decides what's true or false? Who decides? What did he say?
Right. So things that are very clear hoaxes that there's like, it's not.
Who decides what's a very clear hoax? We're not parsing.
Not like we're not parsing speech about whether something is slightly true or slightly false.
Who decides what's slightly true or slightly false and like parsing speech? Who decides what's a minor thing that we're not getting tied up over this. We're deciding major hoaxes like if the earth is flat. Who decides if that's a major? Who decides what's a hoax? Who decides what's bullshit? Because as you're going to see towards, I keep saying that, but you're going to see it as it unfolds more and more and more. And especially at the very end, it's going to be like the blowy grand finale after this whole thing where Mark, quote unquote, more or less does a good job by PR standards of not, shit in the bed and saying something that is like a huge gotcha. I'm going to dissect things and try to pull out the most, but he does pretty good overall. But at the end, he really, basically, he how would I put it? Not backtracks on COVID, but like he says something about COVID that's just like, how tone deaf and wrong can you still be at this point about that? And Joe checks him. So it's like, you're saying we're not gonna go over these little small things where we're parsing speech. We're gonna get rid of things that are major hoaxes. But if we're leaving that up to you, I don't even think your judgment is good enough at this point for you to decide what the fuck is a major hoax and what the fuck you should be censoring or not. You've lost that privilege. Look at him. I got froze kind of on a funny frame, but yeah, that's the argument I would make. Like, he says that we don't want to do this, but then that's what they do. And at the end of the day, you're kind of stuck in this paradigm where you are more or less the god of Facebook. And if that's one of the biggest platforms where, a third or a quarter or whatever of free speech on the internet is said on your platform and you're controlling what's said on there, then is it really free? And you don't want to control stuff, but you are. And you can be fooled for what you think is like a major hoax or what is not a hoax and what is official. Like, you were fooled that COVID vaccine was official and you still believe that. So we can't really trust you when it comes to deciding what's worthy of being censored. You don't have a good filter for that.
False, like Earth is
and
flat.
What one man can.
The
Earth is flat. That's a hoax. We can clearly censor and ban that. It's like, everyone knows how I feel on that. And that's maybe a deep dive for another day, but it's just going to show that with not only that, which I think we can argue that different point, flat Earth, but the COVID thing, which we're going to see with him at the very end, his judgment is not. You're not on the right side of history here, so that you can just say, well, I know what's a major lie and what's just like little things that we're trying to parse out the details. You've been fooled. You're compromised.
Things like that, right? So that was sort of the original intent. We put in place the system, and it just sort of veered from there. I think to some degree, it's because some of the people whose job is to do fact checking, a lot of their industry is focused on political fact checking. So they just kind of veered in that direction. And we kept on trying to basically get it to be what we had originally intended, which is just, it's not, the point isn't to like judge people's opinions. It's to provide,
Sounds like it is.
this layer to kind of help fact check some of the stuff that seems the most
Why do we need fact checkers? Let me let him finish and then I'll get on that.
extreme, but it just, it was just never accepted by people broadly. I think people.
Why do we need fact checkers? If I post something that's clearly dumb, people should be able to disregard it. No one will like it. No one will comment on it. People will disregard it. And if you don't interact with people on Facebook, Facebook will stop. Even if they're your friends, Facebook will start showing you less and less and less of their stuff to where eventually you don't see it. Other people you don't interact with. So if I post stuff that's stupid and misinformed and nobody likes it and no one believes it and no one interacts or shares or comments, no one's going to see my shit and no one's going to care. That's what Elon says on his thing on X. People can post like stuff that's not true or that's racist or insecure, or not insecure, but like, I guess you could say that, but like obscure. And if no one comments, reacts, likes, or shares, then it's just like on its corner of the internet where it doesn't get touched. So, where was I going? Oh, for him to say, which is still kind of, it's almost like you're putting them in the dark so they can like say their thing in the dark or whatever. But that's not even what he's doing. Where was I going? I just feel like, by him having the fact checkers, it's almost like it's dulling our senses of what we can, like, we should be able to see something and interpret whether it's good or not. We don't need you to pre-check something. It's almost like taking away our sense to take in something fake and say that it's fake and realize that. It's like our internal fact checker is just so dulled, or that's what this creates the chance for it to become. And I would argue it has for a lot of people. They go with the official narrative, and when you bring something that's contrary, because they can't take in something fake and interpret it, or they can't take in something new and interpret if it's real or fake, they take in something new and just say fake because it's not part of the person they trust or the entity they trust, which is the government a lot of times, or whoever, whatever big organization. Like, I trust them. Well, they could be wrong, and like, because they've trained you to just trust them to interpret that, you don't have your own skills to interpret what is true or false. That can become dangerous. Now you're just taking everything in from this one source, and if they ever try to fuck you, you're getting fucked because you can't interpret it. And I feel like that's what's happened. So he's like, whoa. Let me get what he said again.
To be what we had originally intended was fact checking. A lot of their industry is focused on political fact checking, so they just kind of veered in that direction. And we kept on trying to basically get it to be what we had originally intended, which is just, it's not, the point isn't to like judge people's opinions. It's to provide this layer to kind of help fact check some of the stuff that seems the most extreme. But
yeah, but people, we should be able to decide for ourselves. We shouldn't need you to tell us what's true and false. And because, like I said, it just dulls our senses. And then when we need to use our own mind to determine what's true or false, people are left depending on these big entities, whether it's the government or said famous person or whatever. So that's just not good. Next clip. Let's see.
Or one of these thing about that. COVID was the other big one, where that was also very tricky because, at the beginning it was, it's like a legitimate public health crisis.
He having trouble even saying how tricky it was, wouldn't he?
Crisis, in the beginning, and it's even people who are like the most ardent.
Could you tell then which one was the major hoax that you needed to just not spread? Oh, you couldn't tell then. When it's flat Earth, you can tell which one's the major hoax that you can clearly just censor. But when it comes to the lies of COVID, you can't see those clear lies. Those you allowed right on through, pushed them probably.
First Amendment, defenders. The Supreme Court has this clear precedent that's like, all right,
When it was the government initiative, they pushed it. The people who were against it, they damn sure censored them.
you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. There are times when, if there's an emergency, your ability to speak can temporarily be curtailed in order to get an emergency under control. So I was sympathetic to that at the beginning of COVID. It seemed like, okay, you have this virus. It seems like it's killing a lot of people.
Why were you sympathetic to that, though? Why? Because you want to, like...
I don't know. Like, we didn't know. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. There are times when, if there's an emergency,
Isn't that exactly what the government did by trying to make COVID seem way worse than it was? They basically yelled fire in a crowded room. COVID, it's so bad. COVID, 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 COVID. And like, as Joe's going to point out, again, towards the very end, not that many people died. It was super contagious, but not super deadly. And they fucking lied and pushed and manipulated and tried to get us to take a vaccine and all this stuff. And he's trying to squirm and make excuses of why that was okay. Or, well, we didn't want people to create panic by saying the wrong thing, so we censored them. Well, you censored people that went against the government, but it just so happened the people you censored were right, and the government, which you probably pushed and helped, was wrong. So, as I was saying earlier, we can't really trust you to determine for us, and we shouldn't, but we definitely cannot have you determining what's right and wrong for us and what you should censor.
Your ability to speak can temporarily be curtailed in order to get an emergency under control. So I was sympathetic to that at the beginning of COVID. It seemed like, okay, you have this virus. It seems like it's killing a lot of people. I don't know. Like, we didn't know.
It seems like it's killing a lot of people. Motherfucker, is it? I don't care what seems like.
Know at the time how dangerous it was going to be. So at the beginning, it kind of seemed like, okay, we should give a...
For how long did it seem like that? How long did we not know how severe it was? How long? The time that we knew that we thought that was much shorter than the amount of time you censored people. We thought it was very dangerous and it was crazy for what? 3 months? 6 months? How long did you censor people from saying stuff about it? Twice that long?
A little
At
bit
least?
of deference to the government and the health authorities on how we should play this. But when it went from, 2 weeks to flatten the curve to, in the beginning, it was like, okay, there aren't enough masks. Masks aren't that important. To then it's like, oh no, you have to wear a mask. And, everything was shifting around. It just became very difficult to kind of follow. And this really hit the most extreme, I'd say, during the Biden administration when they were trying to roll out the vaccine program. And I'm generally pretty pro rolling out vaccines. I think on balance, the vaccines are more positive than negative, but
I guess I'm letting it play. Okay, I got it just a little bit more.
I think that while they're trying to push that program, they also tried to censor anyone who is basically arguing against it. And they pushed us.
They didn't try, they did. So they pushed their narrative strong and they censored anyone that went against it. What does that sound like? Total and absolute dictatorship control. So you're like, I don't want to have to censor people and, be the arbiter of what's true, but you will, and you did. And we can't even trust you to do that. It's just like, man, it's so, obviously crooked.
Super hard to take down things that were true, right? I mean, they basically pushed us and said, anything that says that vaccines might have side effects, you basically need to take down. And I was just like, well, we're not going to do that. We're clearly not going to do that. I mean, that is kind of inarguably true.
Who is they? Who?
And I was just like, well, we're not going to do that. Says that vaccines might have side effects, you basically need to take down. And I was just like, well, we're not going to do that.
Didn't they do that? Dude, I might have to go back and dig up. I don't know how you would dig up evidence of that. I'm almost sure they censored stuff about the vaccine. He's like, we're just not going to do that. I'm 90% sure you did do that, dude. During COVID, you cannot just say whatever you wanted. I know for a fact on YouTube you couldn't. I don't know about Facebook, but bro, I'd be pretty surprised. I know there was like a fucking year and a half time where like you couldn't say what you wanted about COVID on the internet. I mean, certain people did, but you had to really be careful what actual words you said if you were talking about it. And the bigger channel, the better chance you had to get away with it. But bro, they were not letting that slide. So he's like, we're not doing that. It's like, you did do that, dude.
Says that vaccines might have side effects you basically need to take down. And I was just like, well, we're not going to do that.
Shut up, bitch!
To like a very severe thing. Like, let's say someone is
Terror.
All right, anyway. That made me jump to a different spot too. Damn. All right, well, whatever. I tried it. Messing around with the new soundboard sound effects, but it jumped to a certain part in the interview. We were done with that clip anyway. This is just like a little 30-second clip, and then we'll move on to the next thing.
There's a lot of like hypercritical people that are conspiracy theorists and think that everybody's a part of some cabal to control
Y'all are part of a cabal, you fucking slimy piece of shit.
them. I want you to understand that whether it's YouTube,
I want you to understand that as long as you're on that side, it's fuck you, pussy.
all these, whatever place that you think is doing something that's awful, it's good that you speak because this is how things get changed and this is how people find out that people
Yeah, why don't you sit on that microphone? Fucking.
are upset about content moderation and censorship. But moderating at scale is insane.
Yeah.
Why do you have to moderate? Let the people decide what they want of you. If it's not something that's already a crime, why are you moderating it? You don't. If obviously we don't need to have videos of killing or grape or terrorist organizations on social media. Okay, if it's already a crime, I get you banning it. Do it. Yes, ban it. Turn those people in, and then ban them. But if it's free speech, why are you censoring at large scale? Is crazy. Don't do it then. Just don't do it. There's something crazy. Just don't do it. Oh, but you're part of the cabal too. See, Joe in this interview act like he's the good conversationalist and he's here to get the most out of Mark Zuckerberg. And when Mark has some stuff that he really tries to squirm out of, Joe's going to hold him accountable a little bit here and there. And, you know, oh, there's no cabal. I'm here to, what do you call that? Dude, here I am forgetting a term that's, if not the same term I was thinking of the other day, something in a similar vein where he's just like directly telling you what he's not, but it more than likely is what it is. He's like trying to just like bold-faced lie and just like, there's a certain term for this, but he's basically just like deflecting in a major way about like, they think there's some cabal that, it's like, dude, there is. The more and more you look into it, there is something going on. There is a team that works together to fuck most people in society. I mean, think about if someone that really, like, again, he'll hold them pretty accountable at the end over COVID, but for the most part, he's not holding them accountable. He's like, oh, you know, he's sympathetic to the fact that Mark has to censor a bunch of people. It's like, I don't have sympathy for him.
This is how things get changed. I want you to understand that whether it's YouTube or all these, and whatever place that you think is doing something that's awful, it's good that you speak because this is how things get changed and this is how people find out that people are upset about content moderation.
Maybe, but they can still censor you. I can say all the good shit I want and disprove all the dumb shit you and Mark say. Both of you, him more, but you too. I can pick apart all the shit y'all say. But if no one sees it because no one cares, or I'm such a small channel and I'm saying such harsh shit that no one wants to see it, or better yet, YouTube doesn't push it. Like I was saying earlier, you can say whatever you want, but if you're saying it over here in the corner in the dark, who cares? So, and I made that reference into Elon saying you can say racist, hateful, certain shit on Twitter that like shouldn't be allowed, but it's not promoted. So it's basically like you just saying it over here in the dark by yourself. So I can say all this shit over here that's so true and that's picking apart everything they say, but if no one sees it, it's like I'm yelling it in the dark. So yeah, I can speak out and I will continue to, but Joe's like, yeah, continue to speak out because it's going to make little difference. I do this because I enjoy it, and I do think it could make a difference, but I know that's severely stunted because of the algorithm and things like that. So he's like, yeah, just continue to... Shut the fuck up. How about that, bitch? I need it.
Shut up, bitch!
There you go. All right, back to the little mini rants over. Back to, let's see.
Is doing something that are
More. There we go.
it's almost half of Earth.
Well, on a monthly basis, it is probably happening. But
so-
Oh, this is just him talking about the same thing again.
Just I want to say that though, for there's a lot of like hypercritical people that are conspiracy theorists and think that everybody is a part of some cabal to control them. I want you to understand that whether it's YouTube or all these and whatever
Just shut the fuck up, you fucking pussy. All right. There is a major conspiracy, you fucking fuck. It's crazy how the last episode that I went over of Tim Dillon, he was trying to fucking say the same type of thing. Everyone thinks there's this big crazy thing. It's like, how come you have to fucking try to disprove that so much? Oh, went too far.
they suppressed so much information about things that people should be doing, regardless of whether or not you believe in the vaccine. Regardless, put that aside. Metabolic health is of the utmost importance in your everyday life. Whether there's a
No one believes in the vaccine because there's nothing to believe in. Show me the science. Show me the facts. What are the facts on the vaccine? I would love to hear them right here, right now, from the United States government. After COVID and everything's over, here's the actual facts. Here's how many people got vaccinated. Here's how many people it stopped from getting COVID. Here's how much it stopped the spread. Anything. You are this much less likely to get it after you're vaccinated, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. People that are vaccinated now have less long COVID than people that weren't vaccinated, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Where is the follow-up and the final statistics and the final official calculated, we're sure type of thing? Like, at this point, we're sure because we had time to measure the data. It's years after the fact. We're 100% sure now, or a lot, maybe 95 or 99 or how much ever sure we can be that this is how effective it was. We were right about this. We were wrong about this at the time. Where is the goddamn COVID follow-up? You'll never hear about it. They will never admit to you how fucking wrong they were because they were dead fucking wrong. There was never any follow-up to that shit.
pandemic or there's
Fuck
not.
off.
And there's a lot of things that you can do that can help you recover from illness. It prevents illnesses. It makes your body more robust and healthy. It strengthens your immune system. And they were suppressing all that information. And that's just crazy. You can't say you're one of the good guys if you're suppressing information that would help people
Did you hear that, Zuckerberg? You fucking cuck faggot.
recover from all kinds of diseases, not just COVID.
You can't call yourself the good guy if you're going to suppress the truth. Oh, guess what, Joe? Why don't you look in the mirror, you fucking pussy? That applies to you, too.
The flu, common cold, all sorts of different things. High doses of vitamin C, D3 with K2 and magnesium. They were suppressing this stuff because they didn't want people to think that you could get away with not taking a vaccine.
Just like you're suppressing the stuff about the cabal and the club you're in because you don't want people to know about it. Oh, what a fucking theory. It is 2025. I'm on everybody's neck all fucking year. Fuck you.
Which is really crazy when you're talking about something that 99.07% of people survive. This is a crazy overstep, but scared the shit out of a lot of people. Red-pilled, as it were, a lot of people because they realized, like, oh, 1984 is like an instruction manual. I mean,
How many people are really going to take a second look when the government tries to pull the wool over their eyes again? All these people got red-pilled and woke up and realized the government will lie to you and fuck you in the ass. But how many of those people still voted this fucking cycle? It's like people love getting controlled and manipulated and fucking lied to. Hello? They hate you. They don't care. They will lie and restrict what you can do more and more and more. You're part of that club, dumbass.
it's like
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is it shows you how things can go that way with wrong speak and with bizarre distortion of facts. And when it comes down to it, in today's day and age, the way people get information is through your platform, through X, This is how people are getting information. They're getting information from YouTube. They're getting information from a bunch of different sources now. And you can't censor that if it's real legitimate information because it's not ideologically convenient.
That's exactly what they did, though. He's actually saying some good shit, even though I'm candid right now. He's saying some good shit.
Yeah. So, I mean,
yeah, yeah. I fuck with what Rogan said, even though I had some more to add and I'm charged up. Because I think he plays that middle ground where it seems like he's real reasonable and he's pushing back on stuff and he's just saying what the reasonable guy would say, but he's leaving so much out. And the way he has to try to cape and say, there's no cabal. People think there's... It's like, why would you even have to say that, dude? Oh, because people think that. Why? Because there's a reason to.
that's basically the journey.
Hate groups to speak. There's a lot of this.
Yeah. I mean, the
Well,
tough thing with politics is that there's like...
This is where Zuckerberg talks a little bit about the government pressuring him to censor people and how that kind of goes. So we'll listen to this.
Well, when you say someone's coming after you, are you referring to kind of the government and
Yeah.
investigations and all
Yeah.
that? I mean, so the issue is that there's what specific thing an agency might be looking into you for, and then there's like the underlying political motivation, which is like, why do the people who are running this thing hate you? And I think that those can often be two very different things. So, I mean, we had organizations that were looking into us that were like not really involved with social media, like I think like the CFPB, like this financial. I don't even know what it stands for. It's the financial organization that Elizabeth Warren had set up.
Oh, great.
And it's basically, it's like, we're not a bank.
The
right? We're not like,
debanking section.
yeah, no. So
Yeah.
like we're not a bank, right? It's like what does Meta have to do with this? But they kind of found some theory that they wanted to investigate, and it's like, okay, clearly they were trying really hard, right, to like find some theory, but it like, I don't know, it kind of like throughout the party and the government, there was just sort of, I don't know how this stuff works. I mean, I've never been in government. I don't know if it's like a directive or it's just like a quiet consensus that like we don't like these guys. They're not doing what we want. We're gonna...
That is an interesting point with the government. Is it like something they all say, like, or is it a quiet thing where we just don't like these guys? It's very interesting to know how they get their directives from the top down. But yeah, I think I missed the part that I think he said it already, but I wanted to capture that he said it's global. You know, they display that all the time in more ways than one, but I just thought that was super interesting that it's global, and that just kind of hearing his part of it. Of course, he's gonna say, "Oh, the government pressured me," but it's like he never really says exactly what that looks like and what that means, and if you don't comply, so what? Like, it seems like you're part of that directive too, and you wanted to do it. You know, he never really, in this interview, I'm skipping around and only providing the parts that I need for context to provide commentary to. But if you watch the whole thing, he never really says how they pressured him or what that really looks like. He's like, oh, it was bad, and they pressured me, and I felt like I had to. But it's like, what does that mean? So I really was left wondering that, I guess, after the whole thing. But I think... Oh, no, he still might say it's global. I think that might be coming
going to
up.
punish them, but it's tough to be at the other end of that.
What was it like?
Well, it's not good. I think. Well,
It's tough to be at the under the. It's tough to be at the other end of that. Well, what was it like? Well, it's not good. Well, okay, but fines, penalties. They say we're gonna shut your ass down if you don't comply. Like, he never says what he actually had to deal with. He never says it.
the thing that I think is actually the toughest though is it's global, right?
It's not. It's the toughest thing is not lying to the American people, is it? Not that. That's not the toughest thing. But everybody said the toughest thing is it's global. It's like, isn't everything at this point global, or at least worldwide? We're all connected.
And really,
What was it like?
well, it's not good. I think. Well, the thing that I think is actually the toughest though is it's global, right? So, and really, when you think about it, the U.S. government should be defending its companies, right? Not be the tip of the spear attacking its companies. So when we talk about a lot.
This, I think he talks about this at another point too, but it's not that big a deal. But he's just bringing up an interesting point that's one of our biggest industries and things that makes us money. So our government should protect that, because if you allow other governments to prosecute our social media companies for stuff that's illegal there but not here, and that's going to harm our social media companies, you're allowing other countries to like attack one of the only things that we do produce over here and that we do make money off over here. So I think that's a good point, even though it's pro him and big company. It's still interesting conversational piece and a kind of a good point. But let's skip ahead to the next part. Oh, excuse me.
And when we mess something up, we deserve to be held accountable for that, and just like everyone else. I do think that the American technology industry is a bright spot in the American economy. I think it's a strategic advantage for the United States that
This is where he talks more about the same thing that he was talking about earlier and that I was just referencing. But it's interesting for him to say that, I guess he kind of, I mean, he did it a few times, but this is where he outright just admitted that he was wrong, so which is good to hear. But he just kind of slips into that all slick and sly.
obviously, like, I don't want to come across as if like we don't have things that we need to do better. Obviously, we do.
I don't want to come across as we don't have things we need to do better. Yeah.
And when we mess something up, we deserve to be held accountable for that, and just like everyone else. I do think that the American technology industry is a bright spot in the American economy. I think it's a strategic advantage for the United States that we have a lot of the strongest companies in the world. And I think it should be part of the U.S.'s strategy going forward to defend that. And it's one of the things that I'm optimistic about with President Trump is I think he just wants America to win. And
You're optimistic and behind the guy who you banned off of social media, that guy?
I think some of this...
Imagine that. Okay, people. This is the system that pushed all this bullshit during COVID and just complied with all these lies and bullshit that was bad for the American people and banned Trump. Oh, but now you want him. Now Trump's good. You want Trump. Now he's good for you. Imagine that. Imagine that. There's no way y'all could be working together, is there?
stuff like the other governments who are kind of pushing on this stuff, it's like at least the US has the rule of law, right? So the government can come after you for something, but you still get your day in court, and the
And you
courts
still get a fair shake
are pretty fair.
if you're a big fucking company like Facebook.
And
I don't know if the average everyday person really thinks the courts are fair here in America. Do we? Get in the comments. Y'all let me know. Y'all think the courts are fair for us or just for big business? Oh, the big business in America gets a fair shake in court. But does the average, actual, everyday American citizen? Y'all let me know what y'all think.
So we've basically done a pretty good
I think that's all I need from this one. Next. 27.
of kind of accounts doing phony things. So you get like, whether it's like China or Russia or Iran or like one of these countries, they'll set up these networks of fake accounts and bots, and they coordinate and they post on each other's stuff to make it seem like it's authentic and kind of convince people it's like, wow, a bunch of people must think this or something. And the way that you identify that is you build AI systems that can basically detect that those accounts are not behaving the way that a human would. And when we find that there's like some bot that's operating an account.
How do you differentiate? How do you figure that out?
It just, I mean, there are some things that a person just would never do, right? So,
have you met Lex Friedman?
yes,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
He might not be.
Well, but is he
Might
going to
not
take?
pass your
But is he
Turing
going to take?
test.
Yeah, no. Is he going to take him? Is he going to make a million actions in a minute? It's
He
like,
might.
yeah, probably not.
Okay, so it's that. It's
Well, I mean, it's
things that aren't
more
possible?
subtle than that. I think like
Okay.
these guys are pretty sophisticated, and it's an adversarial.
Okay, if it's not 1 million posts a minute or even 1,000 posts a minute or even 100 posts a minute, if it's not a numerical thing, he's like, they're more sophisticated than that and they're more nuanced than that. Well, then what is it? He never will tell Joe, how do you differentiate? If it's not crazy amount of posts per minute or something that would obviously not be able to be done by a human, how do you figure it out? And he won't tell him what categorically is one thing they use to find out if you're a bot or an actual account.
Space. So, so we find some technique, and then they basically kind of update their techniques. But we have a team of it's effectively like intelligence, counterintelligence folks, counterterrorism folks, AI folks who are building systems to identify what are these accounts that are just not behaving the way that people would, and how are they interacting, and then sometimes you trace it down, and sometimes you get some tips from different intelligence agencies, and then you can kind of piece together over time. It's like, oh, this network of people is actually some kind of fake cluster of accounts, and that's against our policies, and then we just take them all off. But
how are you sure?
See, he still didn't tell us how we know it's not humans. And then just like, how are you sure? He has no answer. He just shucks and jives.
Like, is there a 100% certainty that you are definitely getting a group of people that are bad actors, or is it just people that have unpopular opinions?
No, I don't think it's that for this. I think
How do you know? He's asked you twice now. And at some point, for the sake of the Joe Rogan show or the Joe Rogan experience and him keeping the conversation good and going and not letting it get stale and keeping a good conversational flow, he can't just ask the same question like 3 or 4 times. He has to ask it in a certain way a couple times. And if the guy kind of avoids it, like if it's a really big point and the guy really avoids it, he can say, wait. And I've seen him do this. They'd be like, we need to address this. But sometimes you can't do that all the time for everything. It's like, he just weaseled out of this one, and it's, it's unfortunate,
But what I'm saying is, how
Yeah.
do you determine?
Yeah.
Like, how do you at what percentage of accuracy are you determining it? Do you ever accidentally think that people that
Yeah.
are going to get moderated are actually just real people?
Yes, I think for the specific problem around these like large coordinated groups doing kind of like election interference or something.
But he did not want to give us a tangible thing that a bot does that a human would never do, other than the posting several times within an allotted time slot. Other than that, he was very hesitant, and he said they don't really do that because they're more nuanced than that, and that may be like an older way that they botted things. But he didn't give us anything else quantitative or tangible that we can say, okay, this separates a bot from a human. That way we have more, that would be more trust when you're transparent with what you're using, what criteria. Even if an AI bot is searching this criteria, at least we know the criteria and we feel a little bit more comfortable. But why not just give us that? It's like, it's under the guise of him just being shady and not being truthful and not being honest and like having ill intent. Like, why not just tell us? It would build more transparency and trust, but I don't trust what you're doing. I already didn't, but that doesn't help. So anyway, let's see.
Yesterday, Mel Gibson and I, about how that can get weird. Or was it Theo? It might have been Theo. I think it was Theo. Where that can get weird because I think, like, if you're a person and you work at some accounting firm, but you like posting about stuff, but you don't want it to come back and reflect on your life, you want to shit post, you want to post jokes, you want to be silly, you should be able to be anonymous. I think there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think just because you state your opinion, people should be able to search where you sleep. That doesn't make any sense to me. But if you're going to allow anonymous accounts, you're definitely going to open up the door to bad actors having enormous blocks of accounts where they can use either AI or just programs where they have like...
This is a point that I agree with Joe on. It's good to have some level of anonymity on the internet, but then it opens the door for just like tons of AI bots and hackers and stuff. So like, how do you find that balance? And like, I agree we don't want bots and hackers and shit. So, this is a good common sense point.
Specific answers. I'm sure you've seen that before. It's come up on Twitter multiple times where they've found hundreds of sock puppet accounts tweeting the exact same thing. So you've literally word for word, even certain words in caps, like either people are copy or pasting it, or there's an email campaign that's getting legitimate people to do it, or these are fake people. You're going to have, if you're going to have anonymous accounts, which I think you should, because I think whistleblowers, I think the benefits of anonymous reporting on important things that the general public needs to know about, especially whistleblower type stuff, you have to have some ability to be anonymous. But if you're going to do that, you're also going to have the possibility that these aren't real people, that these are paid actors, these are paid people, or not people at all, or they're running programs, and they're doing this to try to sway public opinion about very important issues.
And I think what Joe's going to come to the conclusion of saying, and I would have to agree, is you have to allow both, and the individual meaning you and me, we have to decide. And what you do is, and I think I've said this before, something similar. You have to find someone that you yourself find is a good source of news and information. And when when what they say rings true, and you bear it out, and it maybe not predictions, but they say they have takes or stuff, and it aligns with how you view the world or what you see to be true. And you're like, okay, this person, when they say stuff, it's on point, it's on key, it's never some weird stuff. You have that source you can trust. But so I feel like it's the individual. Someone might fool you once or hit you with some fake stuff once, but they're like, all right, well, this source is bullshit, not trusting them anymore. And you kind of have your sources, but the individual needs to be able to distinguish those sources. That way the government or Facebook or some power can't come in and be like, oh, this person's saying bullshit, they're out of here. Like, that's just crooked, because that puts one person in charge of like what we're intaking, and it dulls our senses, like I said earlier, for when we need to interpret what's a lie and what's truth. We can't even do that because someone else has been doing that for us.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was the end from that clip, I think. Okay, I think I have a clip that basically goes right after that, so I'll just continue to let it play out.
A lot of what we've seen too, I mean, so there's the anonymous accounts. Also, just over time, I think a lot of the kind of more interesting conversations have shifted from the public sphere to more private ones. So WhatsApp groups, private groups on Facebook. I'm sure you have this experience where like maybe 10 years ago you would have posted your kind of quick takes on whatever social media you were using. Now, you know, the stuff that I post on Facebook and Instagram, it's like I put time into making sure that that's kind of good content that I want to be seen broadly.
Yes.
And then like most of the jokes that I make are like with my friends in WhatsApp, right? In groups.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's kind of where the world is more broadly.
What I thought about that is he does like nice, concise things and stuff that he wants for the world. He puts that on social media, and the stuff that's like funny or is humorous or is like more dirty, you know, humor stuff, dark humor, he shares it with his friends in the chats. And while I think that's cool, you shouldn't punish people who are like comedians and social media people or whoever that want to put that like the more brutal or truthful or dark humor or take a risk with a joke or say the hard truth. Like you should not make it harder on those people to do what they do, because so few people already want to do that. Those people should not be hindered when they do try to do that and share either their humor or their intellect or their truth or whatever. When they want to share that with the world, they should not be hindered because you don't like it. As I said, if someone's breaking a law or something that's already legal, go for it. But if not, I think we need to be real careful and pretty much should not censor for the most part. It's different, you know, spamming is bad, but I think we really got to try to not limit as much as possible. You know, like I said, there's got to be some guidelines, but let's see.
Now.
Yeah. No, I think so for jokes, for that kind of stuff, for comedians for sure. Because also we'll say things that we don't really mean. We just say it because it's a funny thing to say.
I think everyone does.
For sure. Yeah. Which is just a weird thing about.
And some things should be safe for group chat, but I still stand by what I said earlier. For the most part, there needs to be. We don't need to be super censoring, you know, the people that are truthers, comedians, et cetera, because then they're not going to want to share their gifts with the world. Let's see.
Government manipulation of content is bad. So we have, this is the type of stuff that the vast majority of our energy goes towards that, and we're not changing our approach on any of that. The two categories that I think have been very politicized are misinformation, because who gets to judge or what's false and what's true?
Exactly.
You may just not like my opinion on something, and then, you know, people think it's false, but it's I think that
Kind
one's
of like flat Earth, right?
really tricky. And the other one is basically what people refer to as hate speech, which is, I think, also comes from a good place of, you know, wanting to crack down on that.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. They make it seem like that, but it doesn't.
Of wanting to promote more inclusion and belonging and people feeling feeling good and like having a pluralistic society that can
I don't want a pluralistic society.
um,
I want the truth. God damn it.
can basically have all these different communities coexist.
Accept everyone. Yeah.
But I think the problem is that
No, you should not accept it. Do you hear that? You hear that? That's why I'm kicking Joe's back in too this year. Just accept everyone. No, we will not accept everyone. No, we will not. There still has to be a line for what is acceptable, what is not. We can't just accept every fucking thing.
feeling good and like having a pluralistic society that can basically have all these different communities coexist.
Accept everyone. Yeah.
But I think the problem is that you just all these things are on a spectrum, and when you go too far on them, I think on that side we just basically got to this point where there were these things that you just like
Where
couldn't
you were lying and censoring the truth. Is that where you got to?
say, which were mainstream discourse, right? So, it's like Pete Hegseth is going to, probably be defending his nomination for Secretary of Defense on the.
I think that's it. But yeah, not down to accept anything and everything and everyone. There has to be some kind of moral code and standards. We can't just accept everything or everyone.
Things in terms of the impact that it has on society, on opinions, on conversations, on distribution of information. There's never been a thing like this that the government didn't control. So it makes sense from their perspective, continuing the patterns of behavior that they've always exhibited, which is to have control over the media. I mean, there has been CIA operatives that have been in major newspapers forever. There's always been that. There's always
Wait, say that again, Joe?
exhibited, which is to have control over the media. I mean, there has been CIA operatives that have been in major newspapers forever. There's always been that.
There's been major CIA operatives that have been in newspapers forever.
They've always exhibited, which is to have control over the media. I mean, there has been CIA operatives that have been in major newspapers forever. There's always been that. There's always been this sort of input that the government had in mainstream media narratives. They
Why?
are in a position.
Isn't mainstream media supposed to be telling us the news or the truth?
Now where they're losing that. They've essentially lost it. And especially with this the push during COVID deteriorated, as you were saying before, the opinion and the respect that people have for the facts that are coming from mainstream journalism in a way that I've never seen before in my life, where an enormous percentage of the population does not trust mainstream media anymore.
It was already going that way, but they forced it, which makes me worry because they have problem, reaction, solution, which probably means they want it to crash so they can replace it with something else. The people that control these things are never going to let the power have a vacuum. They're always going to... The power can't have a vacuum. Whenever there's a system of power, something has to replace it. So they're knocking down the old media, but you think a lot of these new streamers are not industry plants or so-and-so's nephew or son or daughter or whoever, that now they're the biggest streamer that we all get our news from, or they're the biggest person that we all watch. Like, you think they were not put in place and they're not controlled and they're not limited on what they can say? If you really pay attention, then they are. And the more and more deep dives on this channel you watch, the more and more you're going to see it. Hopefully hopefully you don't need to watch this channel and you already know all this shit. But if you don't, hopefully some of this starts to click at some point.
That's also
but it might be because of that revealing how kind of incorrect and dishonest I think some of these governments were.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's
all of them.
That's quite possible. And I mean, I do think that there is this cycle that goes on where, within a society, it's not just the government that has power. There's like certain people who are in these like culturally elite positions, and journalists, TV news anchors, like who are the people who people broadly trust, right? They're not all in government. They're like a lot of people in other positions. It's like who are the people that basically people look to. And
you don't think those people, like I said, even though it's shifting, you don't think those people are still controlled? Pay attention, they are.
I think that's basically
pay attention to how PC they are, what they can and can't say, whether it's vulgarity or truth wise or stuff like that, and like, you know, who they have on their stream or show who is also compromised. Certain little things, key giveaways. Mostly it's things they won't say or won't ask, and how clean they try to keep it. Usually pretty good indicators of giveaways.
It needs to shift for the internet age. And I think a lot of the people who people look to before, they're kind of realizing, hey, they weren't super honest about a lot of these issues that we face. And I think that's partially why, social media isn't a monolithic thing. It's not that people trust Facebook or X. They trust the creators and the voices that they feel like are being authentic and giving them valuable information on there. So there's, I think, going to be just this whole new class of creators who basically become the new kind of cultural elites that people look at and are like,
but if whatever they say is still censored through you, which is dictated by the government, then how is it any different from the news? CIA operatives were controlling the news. Well, now the government tells you what to censor. So this new guard of people who were getting our information and the news from it, etc., if they're having to use X, Facebook, YouTube, or whatever as conduits for their content, you're basically a middleman between the government, which is telling them what they can and can't do by banning and censoring and taking down stuff that isn't what you like. So how has anything really changed?
Okay, these are the people who give it to me straight. And I think that's a thing that is...
The people who give it to us the most straight, you censor and ban.
Maybe it's possible because of social media. I think it's also just the internet more broadly. I mean, I think podcasting is obviously a huge and important part of that too. I mean, I don't know to what extent you feel like you kind of got to be large, like because of social media or just the podcasting platforms that you used. But I think that this is like a very big sea change in terms of like who are the voices.
It seems so, but as I was saying just seconds earlier, I don't know if that's really true. Let's see. Oh, I have another clip, so I'm just gonna let it play out.
Voices that matter. And what we do is we try to build a platform that gives people a voice. But I think that there's this wholesale generational shift in who are...
We try to build this platform that'll give people a voice as long as they agree with what we're saying.
The people who are being listened to. And I think that that's like a very fascinating thing that is going on, because I think that that's like what's going on here. It's not just the government and people saying, hey, we want like a very big change here. I think it's just like a wholesale shift in saying we just want different people who we actually trust,
Right.
Who are actually going to like tell us the truth and not give us like the bullshit opinions that you're supposed to say, but like the type of stuff that I would actually like when I'm sitting in my living room with my friends, like the stuff that...
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. I should reward people that actually are trying to say that stuff. The living room banner, the group chat banner, the people that say that online, we should not be censoring them unless they're saying or doing something illegal. They're finally getting around to the point I was making earlier. And even though they are saying what I was saying, they don't really genuinely agree with me. They're just saying it.
That we know is true. Like, who are the
Right.
people who kind of have the courage to actually just say that stuff? I don't know. I think that whole like cultural elite class needs to get
You can't handle the truth.
repopulated with people who people actually trust.
Yeah. The
You
problem
think people trust you, jackasses?
is these people that are starting these jobs, they're coming out of universities, and in the universities they're indoctrinated into these ideas as well. It's very difficult to be a person who stands outside of that and takes unpopular positions. You get
Boy, tell me about it.
socially ostracized, and people are very hesitant to do that, and they would rather just keep their mouth shut and talk about it in quiet conversation. And that's what we experience, which is another argument for anonymous accounts. I think you should have anonymous accounts. I think you should be able, like, if there's something like COVID mandates or some things that you're dealing with and you don't want to get fired because of it, you should be able to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And you should be able to post facts. And
Should be able to. Sounds great, doesn't it, in a dream world. Anyway, they finally... I put in my notes because when I was watching this through the first time and I was thinking of the arguments I was going to make, they finally hit the nail on the head with the argument I was making, which, y'all get it. Anyway, yeah, they finally came around to say what I was saying, but Did they actually believe it? They're actually gonna do it? Whatever. But at least it did round out the points I was making very nicely. So I'm gonna check the chat real quick just to see if anyone's in there. Get in the chat and let me know what y'all think about the commentary so far. What you think about Joe Rogan. Uh, I know he's a good podcaster and a good conversationalist, but let me know what you think about him as like an informer of the people and like someone who's like, do you hold him accountable or responsible for like spreading the truth, or do you just look to him for entertainment? And y'all let me know what y'all think about the breakdown also. But I'm gonna get back into it.
And now they're trying to do the sort of podcast thing, but they're trying to do it like
Again, for anyone who's watching this, maybe not familiar with my breakdown style, how I do things with the channel, for copyright reasons and for time reasons, and also what I find like the most interesting, I'm only going over certain parts of this that I have pre-watched and have notes on. And if you want to watch the whole interview, I encourage it. It was entertaining, good little conversation. But again, I'm only hitting the topics that really I think are prevalent to like good discussion and kind of prevalent to the channel. So anyway, but yeah, feel free to go watch the whole episode if you want to see more of the whole thing.
a mainstream media person, so they're like gaslighting during podcasts, and people are like, "Hey, fuckface, like this, you can't do that here. It doesn't work."
Yeah, it's a new medium. I mean, I know, I'm sure you know the history on this. It's like when people transition from radio to TV, the initial TV anchors were the same radio people, but just like being filmed while speaking on the radio. But it turned out it actually was a completely different type of person that you need, because on your radio is just like...
This is not something I really was going to be super critical of. This is something I just thought was kind of interesting, how he's saying the people, when you're on radio, you just had to have a good voice and like maybe cadence and like good in that way would auto what am I trying to say? Wow, I smoked that audibly. Dude, I feel so stupid right now. Anyway, make sure you sound good on audio. And dude, I'm totally blanking on the word I need. Anyway, on TV, it, as you were saying, it's more of a TV presence, and then podcasting is and whatever we're dealing with now is probably a different thing. So I just thought this was something that cool point I agree with, and just wanted to
like your voice and your cadence and all of that. It's like, the whole phrase, it's like you've got a good radio voice, right? It's like, okay, on TV, you need to be telegenic, right? You need to kind of
What's the audio version of visually? That's what the word I was looking for, and I cannot fucking... it might not even be the same exact, tense with like visually with the, LLY at the end, but there's something audio that I'm missing. But anyway, who cares?
have charisma in that medium. It's like a completely different thing. And I think that that's going to be true for the internet too. It's, it's not as cut, where I think part of it is the format, right? The fact that you do these like 2-3 hour episodes. I mean,
yeah, you have to have a different kind of personality that's likable and translates on camera, but like more consistently and in a different, like TV, it's like a short 30-minute, maybe hour program, but with commercials, you're not in front of the camera that long, and it's, you plan what you're gonna say, you plan where you're gonna look, you camera angle, lighting, they put makeup on, they have scripts, they do retakes if it's not good, all this stuff. It's like a actual legit production show versus podcast is a lot more raw and unedited. And then, of course, just to agree with him a little bit here, it definitely takes a different kind of personality, and I don't even know if we've seen the best kind of that yet. But it definitely takes something different. But as I was saying earlier, I don't know if they're that much different from the old guard from TV, as in what they're willing to say and that sort of thing. So I'm going to skip ahead quite a bit. I think this is the part where they talk about fighting a little bit. So yeah, I believe so. So this is the part where they talk a little bit about fighting, but there's nothing for me to really give commentary on, so I'm going to kind of skip ahead to what's after that.
right, I do think that if you're a woman going into a company, it probably feels like it's too masculine. It's like there isn't enough of the kind of the energy that you may naturally have, and it probably feels like there are all these things that are set up that are biased against you, and that's not good either, because you want women to be able to succeed and like have companies that can
It goes back to kind of the red pill movement. I don't know. I know that's kind of died out. Many people weren't a fan from it from the beginning, but it kind of goes with what part of the red pill movement is. I don't know if women are meant to really be in the workplace where it takes a really disagreeable and masculine energy to get things done and to fight for wages and get up and just do the grind of a work and job all day. I don't know if that's something that we really should that's not something we should define as a successful woman. Maybe we've made a mistake with that, and it could be wrong, but that's a theory of the red pill, that a successful woman is a mother and a wife, maybe not a successful woman is a working woman. And maybe that's a wrong thought, but it's a thought that has been thrown out there, and it's like, what makes women happier at the end of the day, and what serves society better at the end of the day? Is it really all these women, or the majority of women, working? Not to say women can't work, but I don't know if that's the best for the success of our society. So it's sold like it is, but I don't know if that bears out.
Unlock all the value from having great people, no matter what their background or gender, So, but I think these things can always go a little far, and I think it's one thing to say we want to be kind of like welcoming and make a good environment for everyone, and I think
but by trying to do that, they went too far, and it's not welcoming a good environment for men in the workplace anymore. And I think that's what he's going to get around to saying.
It's another to basically say that masculinity is bad. And I just think we kind of swung culturally to that.
Which we've been dealing with for the past 10 years. And I don't know about everyone else, I'm dead tired of it. Dead tired of it.
That part of the kind of the spectrum where, it's all like, okay, masculinity is toxic. We have to like get rid of it completely. It's like, no, like it's both of these things are good, right? It's like you want like feminine.
Anyway, I agree with that point. So I just wanted to play that. There's a few little points that I agreed with. So I want to play those as well. Let's see. Skip ahead a little more. I think here they talk. I could be wrong. It might be later, but what did they talk about where I skipped?
They had also just done a really hard kind of like leg workout the day before.
Yeah, they were talking about working out and fighting and stuff. Okay. Let's see. Give me a second. I'm skipping ahead to what did they talk about here?
There's so many opportunities, not just for just pure recreation, but education. There's so many things you could learn, skills, through AR or VR.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they were talking about, I think, a bunch of his new AR, VR, but I don't think it was anything too crazy that I wanted to really talk about. But right here is where they talk about. They start talking about AI and stuff, so this is a good point.
2025, it's one world. Like these things should get blended.
God, that's such a weird concept, but it's true. I mean, that's where we're headed. We're certainly headed into deeper and deeper integration. It's not like things are moving away. We're headed to deeper and deeper integration with technology and AI. And it's inevitable, It seems
Is it inevitable though?
like it's on this march, and there's not a lot we're going to be able to do to stop that march. Just we got to hope that the right people are in control of AI when it becomes God.
Or that it becomes widely available. I mean, I kind of liked the theory that it's only...
Just because it becomes widely available doesn't mean it won't be controlled by a select one or few people.
God.
Come on, dude.
If only kind of like one company or government controls it. Right? It's like if you were the only person who had access to a computer and the internet...
Have you been paying attention to what's been going on? Everyone had access and control... not control. Everyone had access to the internet, and as you can see, we were censored, and we couldn't say freely and do everything we wanted because a certain few controlled it. It's the same thing with AI. Everyone might have access to it, and everyone might have it, but if only a certain few control it, we're still fucked. Don't you get it yet?
you would have this like inhuman power that everyone else didn't have because you could use Google and you could like get access to all this stuff. But then when everyone has it, it makes us all better, but it's also like kind of an even playing field. So that's kind of what we're going for with this whole open source thing. Is I don't think that there's going to be like one AI. I certainly don't think that there should be one company that controls AI.
Shut up, bitch!
I think you like want there to be a diversity of different things and a diversity of people creating different things with it. I mean, some of it will be kind of serious and helping you think through things. I think like with anything on the internet.
No.
What's up guys, my name is Ace, and it looks like finally the skill data is starting to pour in for players that have requested it from Activision. For those that aren't familiar, a couple weeks back, I shared the fact that you can request your personal data from Activision. This is a legal requirement for them to do in many regions at least. And as part of the personal data they share for you, they share every single match that you've ever played. It looks like all the way back to Modern Warfare 2019. At least for some people it went that far back. And with this data, it also includes your hidden skill rating that they don't show you in-game, and that they matchmake you based on. Now, I already went through my
Hey, what are you doing? Okay. Yeah, what happened? Hmm. Damn. Damn. Nice. Yeah. What were you doing when it started hurting? No. What exercise were you doing? I don't know what that is. Huh. Oh, I hate that one. That's one of those exercises that feels weird when you do it, bro. I never liked that one. That's off, right? Yeah. Yeah. Damn. Well, yeah, I hope you feel better. That sucks. I need to fucking find a truck, like, now. Yeah, I'm probably gonna get a car, rent a car, and that way I can go look for trucks. Yeah, but I'll be free, like, tomorrow night. I was doing that fucking stream tonight, and they shut me down. They couldn't take it. Yeah, fuck them. Nothing. I'll just, if I want to do the Joe Rogan thing, I'm gonna have to record it. Yeah. I know I was getting like 5 or 6 viewers. I was like, fuck yeah. But I'm pretty sure that like my channel, they're like somewhat watching it on some level. But I mean, it's AI, I'm pretty sure. So, like, if I would have made that same episode and uploaded it, they would have hit me with a copyright and like they would have blocked it. And then I would have been able to appeal it. And after like a day or two, they probably would have cleared it because that's what happened with the last Joe Rogan one. But I I don't know. I was just getting lazy. I should have pre-recorded it, but I just wanted to go live. But anyway, I don't know if I'll redo it or not. But I well, I'll hit you up tomorrow and see how you what you're up to and how you're doing. All right, man. Be good. Later. Fuck the hoes. Hold up. I thought the stream was. Am I still going? Hold up. Give me a second, chat. If anyone's still here, I didn't. As y'all can tell, I thought the stream was canceled. Let me see. Give me a second. Am I tripping? I guess I was. My bad, chat. I didn't mean to air Joey out like that. We didn't say anything uh, that wasn't for the air, but yeah, I thought they. I guess I'm tripping. I thought they had shut down my stream. Anyway, let me get back to it then. Tripping.
Internet a lot.
All right. Well, I'm tripping. Did they shut it down for a second? I don't know. Anyway, we're live now. Let me get back to my notes. I'll trim that part out later. Let's go back to. I think we ended off with them talking about everyone having AI, but I was going off about like obviously. Let me make sure they're still on this. Let me put them back on the screen. They were talking about everyone having AI, so it'll be more fair. But then I was saying if certain people control it, like with social media and the internet during COVID, if certain people control it, it doesn't matter if we all have it. It matters more or less who controls it. So, you know, I think that was all I have from that clip. Let me go ahead and hit the next clip. I'm glad they didn't take my video down. I was kind of limp, as you can tell from the phone combo. Maybe I'll leave some of that in actually. All right, this clip is gonna be more about AI. So let's watch this, and then I'll give my commentary.
Role is to make it so that it's pretty equally distributed.
I think the problem that people have with it is not even whether or not it gets equally distributed. It's that if it becomes sentient and it goes on its own. The fear that people have, the general fear that we're going to become obsolete, is that human beings are essentially creating a superior version of higher intelligence that will be powered by quantum computing and connected to nuclear reactors, and it's going to have like this ungodly ability to, well, first of all, they've already shown that AI has learned to code. I mean, this is one of the things that OpenAI said, that they're learning how to code their own AI.
I think this year, probably in 2025, we at Meta, as well as the other companies that are basically working on this, are going to have an AI that can effectively be a sort of mid-level engineer that you have at your company that can write.
That's scary. if AI is basically going to be the equivalent of a mid-level engineer.
Code.
Mm.
And
For
once
coding.
you have that, then in the
That's
beginning it'll be really expensive
crazy.
to run, then you can get it to be more efficient, and then over time we'll get to the point where a lot of the code in our apps and including the AI that we generate is actually going to be built by AI engineers instead of people engineers. But I don't know. I think that'll
AI making AI is scary.
augment the people working on it. So I mean, my view on this is like the future, people are just going to be so much more creative and are going to be freed up to do kind of crazy things. It goes back to, my daughter was like playing with Legos before, and
He basically makes the case that because it's the next evolution of technology, every time technology advances, it frees up our time to do more and other better and more creative stuff, like with cars and certain farming technology. He says like everyone used to have to farm to get their own food and make their own food. Now, like 4% or 2% of the world is farmers. So it just goes to show with technology advancements, it frees up what we can do. But I feel like AI, they're going to basically make the argument that that's the tipping point, and it's something that we haven't seen. It's like an unprecedented amount of technology that's not going to affect us in the same way as prior ones have.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of ran out of Legos, and then now she can have Minecraft and can build whatever she wants, and it's so much better. It's just like I think it's the future versions of this stuff are just going to be wild. But
Unquestionably.
yeah,
Another concern that people have is that it's going to eliminate a lot of jobs.
yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's too early to know exactly how it plays out, but
Does it bear out that people will be more creative with more technology? In the past, that's been true because it's freed up our time from doing really hard stuff like travel with cars and planes and phones with communication. So it's freed up so much more of our time and allowed us to be so much more creative. But I feel like we've reached the point of over tipping that glass where the technology is so much that it's starting to dull the creativeness of people. And I would like to flesh that idea out more. And like maybe it's a certain type of technology that has done that. But it definitely seems like we've gone to a point where, at this point in time, the more technology people have, it does not mean the more creative they are. And maybe we've just reached that tipping point. Yeah, it definitely sounds like he's trying to make it seem like we won't be replaced. But I wrote in my notes, it definitely, obviously, that's an argument that Joe's kind of making, and that's kind of a first like thought you would have is like obviously it seems like we're gonna be like replaced, quote unquote. And then um oh, another thing I had is when everyone used to farm and everyone used to homestead, we were a lot more independent as people and we had a lot more freedoms. And the more and more we strayed away from that, the less and less freedoms we have. And it's almost like the more and more technology we have, the less and less freedoms we have. Not exact correlation, but more or less. And it's like I feel like now we're at a happy medium where if we go any further, there's going to be so much technology. We're going to have so much security and so much like connectivity, and we're always watching each other. We're not going to have any independence or any privacy. So, take that as it may be. But back in the day, we had like a lot more independence and privacy and security of like we can protect ourselves. But now we're kind of losing all of that. And I feel like that's part of what makes us human too. So that's just kind of interesting. Be as what it may. And it looks like they have blocked the stream again. Why did they do that? And then they put it back up when I take down Zuck. All right, everybody. Well, I tried. I guess I might try to pre-record this as I was telling Joey on the phone earlier. I don't know how many heard that or what was live, but I might try to pre-record this video and then release it for y'all. That way, if it's copyright, I can dispute it and it'll end up getting pushed through in a day or two. Obviously, these fucking butthurt faggots can't take it, even though I'm giving live commentary. And, funny enough, the other day, Star had a live stream I was going to talk about where he was talking about fair usage change and what's considered fair usage change. But, like, when I make a video, I could be doing it the same style that I'm doing it now. Playing, like, I rarely play more than a minute without pausing it. Usually it's like 30 seconds or 45 seconds. Or if it is a minute, I'll pause it and talk for a long time after that. But I am giving commentary. I'm not just like playing. You can't just watch this as a substitute for the Joe Rogan and Mark Zuckerberg podcast. I'm cutting out like a good over an hour of content and I'm doing little clips and I'm providing commentary in between and pausing it and et cetera, et cetera. So, to my knowledge, this is fair use. And Star, as I was saying, had a stream the other day talking about fair use and saying it's changed. But every time I post a video like this, not a live stream where I just post the video, and even if it gets hit with copyright, I dispute it within a day or two, it comes back that it's good, which tells me I am following the copyright rules when I post a whole video, but when I just try to live stream it, I don't know what the issue is. It's almost like they don't have time to review it, or they can't review it, so they're just shutting you down. But I guess it's gonna force me, if I really want y'all to see my whole opinion on this and get the whole video, I'm gonna have to pre-record it. So I might take care of that in the next few days, and get that up for y'all. I don't know who will care about it at that point. The interview will be like over a week old. But as you can see, are we really free to say what we want to say? Does it matter if everyone has YouTube and everyone can live stream and everyone has the internet? If when I'm saying what I want to say, they take it down or ban it? I guess I can say whatever the hell I want to say right now that they're not on the screen. But are we really free to do what we want to do? You tell me. Y'all let me know what y'all thought of the stream. Y'all let me know if y'all want the full video. And yeah, I guess until next time, I'm LG from Where There's Smoke. I'm out.